Today, I have a clear and natural comprehensible input masterclass. This masterclass will give you the vocabulary you need to understand real-world spoken English. Welcome back to JForrest English. Of course, I'm Jennifer. Now let's get started. First, in this masterclass, you'll expand your vocabulary with phrasal verbs, which are essential to understand natives. We'll start with beginner phrasal verbs and progress to intermediate and then advanced. Our first phrasal verb, hopefully you know this one, work on. Remember, a phrasal verb is a verb, work, and a preposition, on. But you must remember the specific prepositions because if you change the preposition, you change the meaning. Now, to work on, this means to spend time improving or developing something. So it's very common for a native to ask you, what are you working on? Or you can say, he's been working on fixing the sink. And I use this a lot with my students. I might say she worked on her pronunciation and now it's much better. So I hope you're working on your English with my lessons. If you are, put that's right, put that's right in the comments.
We can work on the banners at lunch tomorrow and figure out refreshments then.
And don't worry about taking notes. I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF. You can find the link in the description. Now, if we change the preposition and we have work out instead of work on, the meaning is completely different. This means to resolve a personal problem, disagreement, or conflict successfully. You might say they finally worked out their differences after a long talk. So you could replace work out with resolve. Or you might say, unfortunately, we just couldn't work things out. This might be why your relationship ended or your partnership ended. We couldn't work things out. We couldn't resolve the conflict or issue.
We work things out.
Now, also remember that phrasal verbs have different meanings depending on context. So the one phrasal verb, work out, can mean different things. So if I say, I work out every day at 6 a.m., what does that mean? Of course, in this context, the phrasal verb work out means exercise. One phrasal verb you must know is figure out. This means to understand or solve something by thinking about it. You might say, I can't figure out how to reset this password. And then you think about it or you Google it and later you say, never mind, I figured it out. I figured it out.
I figured it out.
It's very common for natives to combine multiple phrasal verbs in one sentence. So I might say, before we can work it out, resolve our conflict, I need to figure out, understand why she's mad at me. Now let's review find out. This means to discover information. For example, I just found out that the meeting was canceled. So you discovered, learned this information.
I just found out I have to go to Columbia.
Or I might ask you, when did you find out about the promotion? When did you discover this information? So find out, discovering information. Figure out is about understanding information. So again, you can use these together, and natives commonly do, and you can say, I can't figure out, understand, how she found out, discovered the information about the surprise party. Another very important phrasal verb I use every single day is end up. This means to finally be in a particular situation, and it's often unexpected rather than planned. So when we use phrasal verbs, they have a very specific meaning. So you really have to understand the context and the meaning of that phrasal verb. If I say, we ended up staying home, it means it was unexpected, it wasn't planned. So maybe because it was raining. That's the reason why. That's our final result.
That ended up working.
Or you can say he ended up working late again. So it sounds like it wasn't planned, it just happened, and that's the final result. Now, it's very common to ask someone, what did you end up doing last night? Now, in this case, maybe your friend told you that they were thinking about doing many different things. So for you, it's unexpected what they did. At that point, it wasn't planned. So it's very common to ask, what did you end up doing last night or this weekend? Now let's talk about turnout, because they're similar but again distinct, and that's why it's so important to understand the context. To turn out, this means to result in a particular way. The test turned out to be harder than I expected. You can absolutely say the test was harder than I expected, but adding turned out, it gives more information about your expectation or your thoughts about the exam. Or you can say, it turns out that I don't have to work late. We often use this to talk about the final result of something when it is unexpected.
Well, as it turns out, we're getting ourselves a new partner and they needed a new office.
And this is very commonly used with food, with cooking or baking. So if you like cooking or baking, or your friend does, you might ask them, how did your cookies turn out? What was the final result? Now, this is very similar with end up. Just remember that end up is focused on the final solution, and turn out is focused on the final result. So you can say, I ended up staying home on Saturday, but it turned out to be a productive night. So you're talking about the final result. Are you enjoying this lesson? If you are, then I want to tell you about the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program where we study native English speakers from TV, movies, YouTube, and the news so you can improve your listening skills of fast English, expand your vocabulary with natural expressions, and learn advanced grammar easily. Plus, you'll have me as your personal coach. You can look in the description for the link to learn more, or you can go to my website and click on Finally Fluent Academy. Now let's continue with our lesson. Now let's move on to our next phrasal verb, which is move on. So to continue to the next thing. You've probably heard this before, but make sure you practice it so you feel comfortable using it. You might say, let's move on to the next topic if you're with your coworkers in a meeting, and you can even use this with your friends or family. This can also mean to leave the past behind and continue with your life. So it still has the sense of continue, but you have to forget the past and continue. So for example, she's trying to move on after her divorce. She's trying to continue with her life. Or you might use this as advice to someone. Harsh advice, blunt advice. You were fired 6 months ago. You need to move on. If that friend is still upset about the situation, move on.
So you need to move on, find something else.
And if you don't move on, you might fall behind, and that's our next phrasal verb, to fall behind. This means to stay at a lower level than others. So you might say, my vacation was great, but I fell behind in class. While you were out sightseeing and drinking lattes, your class was learning, but you were not. So you stayed here and then your class progressed. Or you might say, I feel like I'm falling behind. Now you can use this in a general sense, or you can be specific. I feel like I'm falling behind in life, which is quite general, at work, more specific, at school, more specific as well. So people are progressing and you are staying here.
I feel like I'm falling behind.
Or you might say to your family, if I don't work this weekend, I'll fall behind. And if you are falling behind, you may want to speed up, which means to go faster. So you might say we need to speed things up if we want to meet the deadline. And here things represents whatever you're working on. Or you can ask someone, can you speed up? We're late. Can you speed up? So you can use that if your colleagues are working on a specific task, if your husband is washing the dishes, or if you're driving because you can drive faster. Can you speed up?
Can you speed up the process of its removal?
And if the driver is going too fast, what would you say? Slow down. Of course, this means to reduce your speed. So you could advise a new driver, you need to slow down when you drive in the snow or in the rain. And outside of driving, you can say sales have slowed down this month. Or if someone is talking, you can say slow down, you're talking too fast.
Will you slow down, please?
Let's review get by. This means to manage or survive with what you have. So you might say we can get by with one car for now. We can survive, we can get by.
I don't think I can get by on the benefits.
Or you might say she doesn't earn much, but she gets by. She survives, she's able to pay for everything she needs to. Or you might ask someone, maybe they were going camping or they were going into a rural area, and you ask them, how did you get by without Wi-Fi? Let's review step down. This is an important business phrasal verb. You hear it in the media a lot. This means to resign, but only from a high-level position. So a high-level position like a CEO, executive manager, leader. You can say the CEO stepped down last year. The CEO resigned. The CEO quit. Or you can say she's stepping down as senior manager. So in the present continuous, it means she is doing this now. So she is still the senior manager, but she has already announced that she's leaving the position.
Some say I stepped down, but I did it because of you.
Or you might ask, when do you think the president will finally step down? This could be the president of a company or an organization. Just remember though, that's for senior positions. For regular positions, you use resign or quit. You don't use step down. Another very common business phrasal verb is take over. This means to gain control of something. So you could say, now that the CEO stepped down, quit, resigned, who's taking over? Who's gaining control? Or you might say she had to take over, she had to take control, gain control, when her manager stepped down. Maybe it was unexpected. You can also use this in a general sense. The company was taken over by a larger corporation. So the larger corporation took control of the entire company.
Yes, but it was taken over last year by the Midway chain.
Oh.
You will also hear in the news, business news, the phrasal verb close down. Now this means to stop operating. It can be permanently or temporarily. It's generally the context that makes it obvious. For example, the restaurant closed down during the pandemic. So in this case, it's not clear if it's temporary or permanent. You would need more information. Or they're closing the store down next month. If I don't receive more information, I would assume it's permanent. And if you ask someone, why did the cafe close down? It sounds like it's permanent because there's nothing to suggest it's only temporary. So here's something where you would add context to make it obvious if it were temporary. We're closing down for the holidays. So usually you have some sort of time reference or the reason. We're closing down during renovations, for example.
We closed down the school and set up a curfew for anyone under 18.
Good.
One I use multiple times a day is follow through. This is to complete something you started or committed to. But we often use this to complain about people. My son never follows through. So your son says he's going to clean his room or visit you on the weekends, and he doesn't. He never follows through. Or you might give someone advice. You need to follow through if you promise something. If you say you're going to drive me to the airport, well then you need to do that because I'm relying on you. You need to follow through. Now just notice the sentence structure. You need to add the additional preposition on, so it's follow through plus on when you specify the object, the something. So if you say he never follows through on his plans. His plans is the something, it's the object. So in this case, you must add the additional preposition on.
You never follow through.
Now maybe he doesn't follow through because he's not looking forward to it. Do you know this phrasal verb? To look forward to. You probably know it, but make sure you're using the structure correctly because I see a lot of mistakes with this one. So to look forward to, of course, is to feel excited about something in the future. It could be 5 minutes from now or 5 years from now, but it's in the future. So you might say, I'm really looking forward to the weekend.
And even though I'm so looking forward to the next part.
Or ask someone, are you looking forward to your trip? Now here's where I see mistakes because you have look forward, that's your phrasal verb, and then you have the additional preposition to, and then you have a noun, the weekend, your trip. But if you use a verb, it must be the gerund verb because to is a preposition, is not part of the infinitive. So you would say, I'm not looking forward to meeting with the ing form, the gerund. I'm not looking forward to meeting the new CEO. So you can absolutely use this in the negative, and many natives do. Let's review put up. This means to hang, attach, or display something. Yesterday, I put up the new posters in my room. Now here, notice yesterday, but put is irregular. All three forms are put, put, put.
And put up posters in the area where you hit him.
I could ask you, can you help us put up these decorations? Or they put up no smoking signs all over the office. Let's review set up. This means to schedule, organize, or establish something. You might say, I'll set up the meeting. This means schedule. Or can you help me set up my new email account? Can you help me organize it or even establish it?
I'll set up my email so it sends out a vacation email.
Or they set up a new business last year. They established it, they're organizing it. Let's review to set aside. This means to save something and is generally used with time and money, and you save it for later. So you can think of it as to reserve. You might say, I'm busy now, but I'll set aside some time this afternoon to help you set it up. Set your email account up, for example. Or you might say, Jennifer, I set aside time every day to watch your lessons. You reserve that time, and I certainly hope you do. Or you could say, we set aside $500 every month for emergencies. Now, did you notice this is also an irregular verb? All three conjugations are set, set, set.
And we set aside a tidy sum.
And if you can't set aside the time, you may need to put it off. So to put off, this means to delay something. As advice, I would probably say don't put off your homework. Don't delay your homework. Set aside the time. Or you might just say, we put off the meeting until Friday. Maybe something more important happened, or one of the executives was sick or on vacation. We put off the meeting until Friday.
You put off the really important stuff till later.
Or you might ask in frustration, why do you always put things off? Why do you always delay things? We need to speed up. Now let's review bring up. This means to mention a topic. She brought up an interesting point at the meeting. Or you can ask, if you weren't at the meeting, perhaps, did anyone bring up the new marketing plan? Did anyone talk about it, discuss it, raise it? Or you might ask, why did you bring that up? Why did you bring up the fact that our sales have slowed down?
Bring up the video?
And maybe you brought it up because you just couldn't hold back, which is our next phrasal verb, to hold back. This means to stop yourself from expressing something. But this is often used in the negative. So in the negative, it means that you're unable to stop yourself from expressing something. So you must express something. You might say, I just couldn't hold back my anger when I saw my ex-husband. So I had to express my anger. Or she couldn't hold back her tears. She couldn't prevent them. They just came down when she watched that really sad movie, which happens to me all the time. Or you might say to someone, don't hold back your opinion. Share it. Share it honestly. So don't hold back your opinion.
I have tried to hold back my feelings, but I can't go on like this.
Let's review look after. This means to take care of someone or something like a pet or a plant. Can you look after my dog this weekend? Or you might say she looks after her younger brother after school. So in the present simple, it's a routine. Or you might ask, who's looking after the kids? You should definitely know the answer to that.
Who's looking after the kids?
To hit on someone. This means that you're showing romantic interest. So when I asked you, are you hitting on me? I'm asking you if you are romantically interested in me. Now maybe I'm asking this because you were making intense eye contact, or you were complimenting me, or just because you always are very close to me. So I want to know, are you hitting on me? Keep in mind though, that many women use this in a negative way. I left the party because some guy kept hitting on me. Or maybe if a friend asked you, do you think Mark likes me? You can say, he was totally hitting on you.
She was totally hitting on you.
Just know that to use this phrasal verb, to hit on someone, it sounds more direct and aggressive than to flirt with someone. So maybe you can say, you were totally flirting with the delivery guy. So here, flirt is not a phrasal verb. It's the verb flirt. And when you specify the someone, you do use the preposition with. Let's talk about to ask someone out. This means to invite someone on a date. Now, a date is a romantic outing. So dinner and a movie. But you can go to dinner and a movie with a friend. A date is always romantic. So maybe you say, he finally asked her out after weeks of flirting with her during lunch breaks. So he finally said, do you want to go to the movies on Friday night? Or maybe you say, I'm not surprised he asked you out. He was definitely hitting on you at the party. Or maybe as encouragement to your friend, you say, if you like him, stop waiting and just ask him out.
If you like him so much, why don't you just ask him out?
Let's move on to check someone out. This is to look at someone romantically because you find them attractive. So maybe she tried to be discreet, so act in a way that wasn't obvious. She tried to be discreet, but she kept checking him out at the gym. So she kept looking at him as he was working out at the gym. Now maybe the gym guy notices and says, I noticed you were checking me out. You were looking at me romantically. How about we grab a drink tonight?
You were checking me out the other day.
And then you instantly text your friend and say, oh my God, the hot gym guy finally asked me out. I've been sending him signals for weeks. Now, to send someone signals, that's not a phrasal verb. It's an idiom, but it's commonly used in this context. And it means to say or do things that make it obvious you're romantically interested. So if you keep checking someone out, that's a way you make it obvious. Let's review the difference between check someone out and hit on someone. When you check someone out, you're observing, you're looking at, but you're not interacting, you're not talking to them. When you hit on someone, you're interacting, you're probably talking or even touching. In both cases, though, you're romantically interested. Now let's talk about to set someone up with someone. This means to arrange a date between two people. So you act as the matchmaker. You might say, my friend set me up with her coworker, and we actually hit it off. Or maybe, you should let me set you up with someone. You've been single for 2 years.
Clarissa's still trying to set me up with her.
But you reply back and say, there's no way I'm going on a blind date. Do you know what a blind date is? This is a date between two people who have never met each other before in person. Hopefully, you don't have to use the phrasal verb to stand someone up, because this means to fail to show up for a date without telling the other person. It's a terrible thing. So you ask your friend, how was your date with Brad? And then your friend replies, you won't believe it. He stood me up, which means your friend was waiting at the cafe or the bar or the movies alone, and Brad never came. Or maybe you say to someone, I know you're nervous about the blind date, but you can't just stand him up. That's cruel. Maybe your friend was saying, I'm just not gonna go, which would be cruel.
You can't just stand him up.
Now let's review to go out with someone, and this has two different meanings. It can mean simply to go on a date with someone. So maybe you say, sorry, I can't hang out tonight. I'm going out with Brad. Maybe you're giving him a second chance, even though he stood you up. I'm going out with Brad.
Yeah, I'm going out with Sam.
This means you're going on a date with Brad. But keep in mind, this phrasal verb can be used in a non-romantic context. So I could say, Denise and I are going out tonight. Do you want to join us? So this is just friends going out. Now the context will usually make it obvious if it's a date or just friends. But if it's unclear, you can ask for clarification. So maybe your friend says, sorry, I can't hang out tonight. I'm going out with Brad. Now, how would a native clarify if this was just a friendship or a romantic outing? Now, a native would say, you mean on a date? Or something that is very native is, you mean out? You're going out with Brad? But that one you may not feel comfortable using. Now the other meaning of to go out with someone means to be in a romantic relationship. So for example, how long have you and your girlfriend been going out? Now, the action started in the past and continues until now, which is why it's the present perfect continuous. And you're asking, how long have you been together romantically? So you can say, we've been going out for a few weeks now. It's still pretty casual. Let's review to hit it off with someone. I already used this in one of our examples. This means to immediately like someone and get along very well when you first meet. So you might say, we went out last night and hit it off immediately. Or maybe you say to your friend, you went out with Brad last night, right? Did you hit it off?
Did you hit it off?
Now this is used idiomatically, so it's always hit it off. You need that it in there. This can also be used in a non-romantic context. The new manager and I hit it off immediately. Let's review to fall for someone. If you fall for someone, this means you start developing strong romantic feelings for that person. So you might say, we started going out a few weeks ago, and I think I'm already falling for him, which means you feel very strong emotions for that person, maybe even love. You might use this as advice and say, be careful, you don't want to fall for a married guy. And a lot of people say, I wasn't looking for anything serious, but I couldn't help falling for her. This means you wanted to keep it casual, but you developed strong feelings for her.
Oh my God, you're falling for her.
Now, hopefully you don't do this to lead someone on. This is to make someone believe you're romantically interested when you're not. Now, to be fair, often this can be accidental. You don't mean to do this. The other person just interprets you laughing as their jokes as you're interested romantically when you're not. You just laugh at people's jokes. But this is often used in a sad way. I totally fell for him, but he was just leading me on. He made it seem like he was really interested in me when he wasn't. Or you might say, I thought we really hit it off. I don't know what happened. And then your friend says, she shouldn't have led you on. So notice that irregular past. Lead, led, led. Let's review to break up with someone. This means to end a romantic relationship. So not a friendship, a romantic relationship. So maybe you run into a friend you haven't seen in a long time and you know their girlfriend is Vanessa. So you say, how's Vanessa doing? But then your friend says, actually, we broke up.
Actually, we broke up.
So you can reply and say, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Or you might confide in another friend, I think Sarah's going to break up with me. She hasn't been returning my texts. Let's review the sentence structure. Sarah broke up with Dan. Notice this is in the past simple. This means Sarah ended the relationship. It was her decision. Dan broke up with Sarah. So Dan ended the relationship. Now you could also say Dan and Sarah broke up. So here there's no with because the two people are already mentioned. Dan and Sarah broke up. They broke up. In this case, it's unknown who ended the relationship, but it is over. Let's review to cheat on someone, the topic of many movies, books, TV shows, and real-life situations. This is to have a romantic relationship with someone else while you're already in a relationship. So maybe you ask, do you know why Dan and Sarah broke up? They seem so happy. Apparently, she cheated on him with her ex. So you cheat on someone with someone else.
She cheated on him.
Or you might confide in a friend, I think Brent's cheating on me. So he's doing the action now. I think Brent's cheating on me. He's been acting really weird lately. Or your friend confides in you. I kissed that girl that was hitting on me at the bar. And then you say, how could you? How could you cheat on Celine? And Celine's your girlfriend or wife. Now let's move on to something perhaps more positive, to get back together with someone. This means to resume a romantic relationship after breaking up. So maybe you say, I saw Dan and Sarah together at a restaurant. I thought they broke up. They did, but they got back together. So remember, when you use to get back together, they had to originally be together, and then they separate, and then they return.
She won the award and they got back together.
Or you might ask a friend, do you think you and Vanessa will get back together? Or you could say, do you think you'll get back together with Vanessa? And you might say, no, it's definitely over. She made that very clear. So if you add that, you know it's Vanessa's decision to not get back together. Or you might say, actually, she texted me last week, so who knows? Maybe we will get back together. Now, if you break up and don't get back together, you'll use this phrasal verb to get over someone. This means to recover emotionally after a breakup. So you might say, it took her months to get over Dan after they broke up.
You'll get over her.
Or maybe you say, I thought I was over him, but seeing him again made me realize I still have feelings for him. So I still like him or even love him. Now notice I use two different structures. To be over, this means you've recovered. You don't have emotional feelings for that person. To get over, you're recovering. You're in the process of ending those feelings. A similar phrasal verb is to move on. You move on from someone or something. This also means to emotionally recover and start focusing on a new relationship or life situation. So to get over simply means stop thinking about that person. But to move on means stop thinking about that person and start thinking about someone else, or start a new hobby, or start traveling, or whatever you want. You could say, it's been 2 years since Denise left, which means she ended the relationship. You need to move on. You need to move on. Or you could say, you need to move on from Denise, because you move on from someone or something. You need to move on from Denise. It's been 2 years.
You need to move on, eh?
But you could say, I know, but I'm not over her yet, which means you still have strong feelings for Denise. Let's review to settle down. This is a positive phrasal verb, perhaps, depending on your goals. This means to start living a stable life, often by committing to a long-term relationship. So you might say, after years of dating, he finally decided to settle down, which means he's going to commit to one woman. Maybe they will buy a house, maybe they will have kids and a dog, and he will have a steady job, and that is his comfortable, quiet life. Now, some people may not want what I just described. So that person can say, I'm sorry, I really love spending time with you, but I'm not ready to settle down yet. I'm not ready to live that quiet, comfortable life.
But I'm not ready to settle down yet, Mom.
Now, maybe the person asks, are you breaking up with me? And they say, no, I'm not breaking up with you, no, but I don't want to lead you on. I don't want you to think that us spending time together is going to end in a marriage proposal. Amazing job learning those common phrasal verbs. Now you'll get lots of comprehensible input by learning about my daily routine. Let's start with prepositions. Right now, I'm on the bed, but now I'm in the bed. So notice we use in when you're under the covers, under the blanket. So you can use covers for everything on your bed, or you can be specific and say blanket. So I'm in the bed because I'm under the covers. But I'm on the bed now because on is used for a vertical surface. So the bed is considered a vertical surface. Now I'm in the kitchen. So even though there are no physical walls, the kitchen is considered an enclosed space. It's its own room. So right now I'm in the kitchen, and right now I'm in the living room because it's its own defined space. But what about this? I'm the pillows. I'm between the pillows. And right now I'm at the front door. So the front door is not considered a defined room or space, and it's not enclosed. So we use at for a specific point. So this is the specific location. I'm at the front door. And how about now? I'm on the patio. So here, maybe just memorization. You're on a balcony or on a patio. And now I'm behind the door. And right now I'm under the desk, under the desk. And I can only be under the desk because this is called a standing desk. You can also call it a sit to stand desk. So right now I can stand and work, but you can lower it and then you can also sit and work. I'm walking my cat. I'm walking Sasha. Now notice how there's no preposition. It's not I'm walking with my cat, because when you walk an animal, you walk a cat or you walk a dog, more commonly, you're in charge of it. You're in control of it. It's also very common to say, I'm taking my cat, I'm taking my dog for a walk. So right now I'm walking Sasha or I'm taking Sasha for a walk. Right now I'm walking with my husband. Say bye, Kevin.
Bye, everybody.
So notice, of course, if you use the preposition with, it's because you're doing it together. It's collaborative, it's joint. I'm walking with my husband, with my friends, with my family. Now, when I made this short, a lot of native speakers commented and joked, oh, you're walking Kevin. Because remember, if you remove that preposition, it means I am in control. So a lot of native speakers joked and said, my wife always walks me, meaning my wife is in control, in charge of. My friend sent me a text message and said, what are you up to tonight? Do you know what that means? What are you up to? This is how a native speaker commonly asks someone, what are you doing? So up to in this expression means doing. What are you doing tonight? So just change doing to up to. What are you up to tonight? So now you'll sound just like a native speaker. And this is what I'm up to tonight, so not very much. So I could reply back to my friend and say, not much, not too much. Or I could be more specific and say, I'm relaxing at home, I'm chilling. That's a very casual, informal way of saying relaxing. I'm chilling at home. You can be more specific and say, I'm relaxing at home and watching a movie, and watching Netflix, and reading a book, and listening to music, whatever you might be doing. And here's a very common phrasal verb you should know. I'm hanging out at home. So to hang out is the phrasal verb. We commonly use this with people. Do you want to hang out tonight? So that's another way of saying, do you want to spend time with me tonight? So I could say, I'm hanging out with my friend tonight. So you use the preposition with, person. So spending time socially. Now you can use it with a location like I did. I'm hanging out at home, which means I'm just spending time at home. So what are you up to tonight? Not too much. I'm just hanging out at home. I'm watching a movie and eating popcorn. What about you? What are you up to tonight? I'm walking to the market to get groceries. So notice two things. You get groceries, so the verb is get. I need to get groceries. And notice how I said I'm walking. So that's the form of transportation. I'm walking to the market. If I said I'm going for a walk, so notice to go for a walk, that's just for leisure or for pleasure. So in the afternoon, I went, the past simple of the verb go, I went for a walk in the park. But I'm not going for a walk, I'm walking to get groceries. I made it to the market, but after walking for 20 minutes, mainly uphill, I'm really hot, I'm really sweaty, so I need to stop to have some water. So notice have water, you can use have instead of drink. I have water, I drink water, they're the same. Now notice I said stop, infinitive, stop to have some water. That means I start the action of drinking water. So I'm having water. I stop to have water. But I could say I stop walking. There's stop plus gerund, your verb plus ing. That means you stop that action. So I stop walking to start to have some water. Here's everything I got at the market. So how about this? I'll hold the item and then you say it out loud to make sure you know the item and the pronunciation. These are, maybe they're not that common outside of North America at least. These are plantains, plantains. Of course, these are eggs, easy. This is a pineapple, one of my favorite things to get, a pineapple. These are beets, beets. It's the same pronunciation as the verb to beat, but the spelling is different, beets. This is garlic. I would view all of this as a collective. So I would just say garlic. This is garlic. I wouldn't say these are garlics. That doesn't sound correct. You could say bulb to represent one. So you could say these are bulbs of garlic, but that's not very common. You would just say this is garlic. So this is a bulb of garlic, and then a piece, we call this a clove, a clove. These are onions. Notice that pronunciation, onion, onion, onions. This is a cucumber. This is a pepper. These are avocados, avocados. This is, of course, lettuce, lettuce. Notice that unstressed pronunciation, lettuce, lettuce. But what if I wanted to make this singular? I wouldn't say a lettuce. This is a lettuce. You can't say that. But if you want to make this singular, you would say a head of lettuce. So I need a head of lettuce. Otherwise, you just say I need lettuce. And we got a big bag of strawberries. And I also got a bag of tomatoes. Tomatoes. Now you can call these smaller ones cherry tomatoes or just tomatoes. And Kevin got this. Do you know what this is? Any idea? It's hot sauce. Hot sauce. I have no idea what's in it, but it's very spicy. Let me share some word tasks that I do every day. Now notice I said every day. So what verb tense will we use? The present simple. Every day, I could also use any of the other adverbs of frequency, always, sometimes, usually, rarely, never. Every day is an exception because that comes at the very beginning or end. Every day I check my email. Now, if you use the other adverbs of frequency, you could say I always check my email at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day. And to check your email, to check means to look at, to review, to check your email. So you can check your messages, you can check anything, that you can check the status of something. So I provide feedback. So notice provide feedback. Feedback is the noun. I provide feedback to my students in the Finally Fluent Academy. I prepare lessons for all of you on YouTube. Now, I could also say I make lessons because I create the lessons. But sometimes my students say I make lessons or I make homework. But that's the wrong collocation. That's the wrong verb. Because for you, if you are completing it, you are doing it. You want the verb do. But because I create the homework, I can say I make the homework. You do the homework, I make the homework. You do the lessons, I make the lessons. Here's an important verb I hear a lot of mistakes with: to follow up with someone. So every day I follow up with my staff, for example. Now, if you follow up with someone, it means you continue a conversation you previously had. So if I ask someone on my team to create something, the next day I can follow up with them and ask them for the status of that. So if you ask me a question and I don't reply, you can follow up with me and send me another message because you're continuing the conversation. Well, I have to get back to work now. Let's talk about cooking. I'm going to make pasta sauce. But first, I don't want to get my shirt dirty, so I need to put on, what's this? An apron. And notice that phrasal verb. I put on the apron. And then the opposite, I take off the apron. Now that I'm wearing the apron, I can cut up the onion. So first, I peel the onion. So to remove the skin, you peel the onion. Now you can slice, which is like this, slice. And then chop is just larger pieces, so to chop. But then to dice would be to take these pieces and then make them very small. So right now I'm dicing the onion. I'm cutting it into very small pieces. So you need to knead the dough. Do you know that verb, to knead the dough? Now, some things are just difficult to explain verbally. You just have to see it. So right now, I'm kneading the dough. And notice I said you need to knead the dough because I wanted you to hear that the pronunciation is exactly the same. There's a silent K on the verb to knead, just like night, a night, silent K, knit, silent K, know, to know, sounds exactly the same as know. And of course, silent K on this, knife. Can you think of any others? Share one more silent K in the comments. As my onions are browning, let's do a little pop quiz. How many do you know? Let's start with this. What's this called? A spoon. What's this? A garlic press. What are these? Measuring spoons. And these? Measuring cups. These are oven mitts. This is a can opener. And this? A ladle. How about this? A spatula. A lot of native speakers just call it a flipper, but it's a spatula. These are tongs. I'll need this after the pasta cooks. It's a colander, but most native speakers call it a strainer. And I'll need this at the end, a cheese grater, just a grater. And this is a cutting board. How many did you get right? Share it in the comments. Look at this beautiful pasta. I hope my Italian students are proud. And my water is boiling. The sauce is simmering, which means cooking at a low temperature, simmering. I want to show you this beautiful loaf of bread. Notice you can't say a bread because you can't make bread singular, a bread. So if you want to specify one, you say a loaf of bread. And this is brioche. Now Kevin and I, my husband and I, we picked it up. Now to pick something up in this case means to get from a store. So, oh, I need to pick up milk. I'm out of milk. I have no milk. I need to pick up milk. So we picked up this beautiful loaf of brioche bread to go with our pasta. I am a very messy cook. So let's talk about clean, clean up, wipe, wipe up. If I say I need to clean the kitchen, that sounds more in general. So it could mean washing the dishes, cleaning the floor, cleaning the counters. So it just means in total. But clean up is a specific area. So I would say, oh, I need to clean up. It's the specific mess I made, not the total kitchen. Now, same for wipe. If you wipe the counters, it's just the entire thing. But if you wipe up a specific mess or spill. So right now, I'm wiping up the pasta sauce. And I need to clean up before I eat my delicious pasta. And the final product, doesn't it look delicious? Now you can just say, have a good meal or enjoy. And native speakers often borrow the French bon appetit. And I am going to enjoy this. Remember the brioche bread from pasta last night? Well, now I'm using the leftovers to make French toast. So notice I said the leftovers, that's a noun. The leftovers means the remaining food item, the leftovers. I could also say I'm using the leftover bread, and now leftover is an adjective. I forgot this in our quiz. What's this? A whisk. a whisk, and the verb is to whisk. So for my French toast, I have eggs, milk, cinnamon, a little sugar and salt, and my secret ingredient, maple syrup, a little bit of maple syrup. So I could say I'm going to whisk the ingredients using the verb whisk. You could also just say mix the ingredients. Now, native speakers often add the phrasal verb up to certain verbs. So I could say I'm going to mix up the ingredients. So mix and mix up here, they mean the same thing. It means combine together, just like I'm doing now. But you don't want to mix up the sugar and the salt. So here, mix up also has a different meaning. It means to use the wrong one. So if you mix up the sugar and salt, it means you use salt when you wanted sugar, or the other way around. So don't mix up the sugar and salt. What was this? Remember? A spatula. But what did I say native speakers commonly call this? A flipper, because now it's time to flip the French toast. So this is the verb to flip, to go from one side to the other, to turn over, but we would say to flip, so I'll do that now. To flip, and that's why we commonly call this a flipper, but remember, it's a spatula. And look at this beautiful French toast. There's only one thing left to do, the secret ingredient, the maple syrup. So I'm going to pour the maple syrup. Now, if you use a noun, you use the preposition on. So right now I'm pouring the maple syrup, but I could also say I'm pouring the maple syrup on the French toast. I'm pouring it on the French toast. And now it's ready to eat. So now I'm getting ready. So to get ready is the general term we use for everything you need to do. So it would involve showering, brushing your teeth, putting on makeup, which I'm doing now, getting dressed, all of those things together, you can say get ready. So I'm getting ready. So I'm putting on makeup. So that's the phrasal verb, to put on makeup. You can also use apply makeup, but that sounds more technical. Maybe you would hear it in instructions. Now, right now I'm putting on face cream. So again, I could say apply, but that sounds a little more technical. If this were a medical cream, a doctor would say apply it 3 times a day. But in everyday use, you put on makeup, you put on cream. And after, I'll blow dry and then style my hair. And then my final step of getting ready is I'll pick out what I'm going to wear. So pick out means to select. So, should I wear this shirt or this shirt? So to pick out. I picked this dress out, so now I need to get dressed, so get out of here. So I'm going out for a bit. Notice that, I'm going out. That's what a native speaker would use to say, I'm leaving the house. It can be for any purpose. It can be to run an errand. Notice you run an errand. To run an errand, to get groceries, to go to work, or for social, which I'm doing, to go to a cafe. So you can say, I'm going out. I'm leaving the house. Now, native speakers, we love using the verb head as a replacement to go, but only in specific situations. So you can learn this phrase, I'm heading out. I'm heading out, which means I'm going out. So I'm heading out. Now you can also say I'm heading to and then a location. Just like you would say I'm going to a cafe, I'm going to the store, I'm going to the movies. You can say I'm heading to the movies, to the store. I'm heading to the cafe. So what's the final thing you need to do when you leave your house, when you go out, when you head out? You need to lock the door. So you can say, I'm locking the door. You can also use the phrasal verb lock up. I'm locking up. I just locked up in the past simple. I just locked up. Don't forget to lock up before you head out. So on the way to the cafe, I just need to stop by the bank, the ATM. Notice I said I need to stop by. So that phrasal verb to stop by, you could also use to swing by interchangeably. To stop by, to swing by, that means to go to a place quickly and on your way to another location. So on your way to the final destination, you go to a different place. So maybe on your way home from work, you stop by the store to pick up milk. So I need to take out money. Take out is the phrasal verb that you use to get money. I need to take out money from the ATM. I need to get money. I made it to the cafe and I ordered my cappuccino. Now, when I ordered this, what do you think I said? I said, I'll get a, I'll get a, I will get a, I'll get a cappuccino. If I wanted to sound a little more polite, I might say, can I get a cappuccino? I could also say, I'll have a, or I'll take a. I'll get a, I'll have a, or I'll take a cappuccino. Now, right now, I'm in a cafe because this is an enclosed space. And right now, I'm at a cafe. I cannot say in because I am not inside. I'm not enclosed in the space, so you cannot say in. I'm at a cafe. It's the precise point on the map. Now this is the patio for the cafe. So what's that preposition? I'm on the patio. Or I could say I'm at the cafe. And now I'm in the cafe. I could also say I'm at the cafe to refer to a precise location, but because I'm physically enclosed, you can also use that preposition in. So now I'm going to enjoy my delicious cappuccino in the cafe. Let's keep going with comprehensible input, and you'll shadow me as we review vocabulary that you can use in your daily life.
You might say, this weekend, I went on a cleaning spree. Ooh, maybe this describes you this last weekend, or maybe at some point in the recent past, or maybe you didn't go on a cleaning spree. Maybe you went on a shopping spree, or an organizing spree, or a dusting spree. So instead of cleaning, you can be specific and say organizing, dusting, scrubbing, or you can use a non-cleaning activity such as shopping, which many people would agree is more fun. Now, we have X spree. And notice the sentence structure. You go on you need an article, and then cleaning represents the adjective, and then the word spree. Don't think about this literally. This entire expression has a meaning, and the meaning is to do a lot of that activity at once. So if you go on a shopping spree, you do a lot of shopping in a short period of time. If you go on a cleaning spree, you do a lot of cleaning in one time period. So has this described you in the recent past? You went on a cleaning spree, or maybe a shopping spree. How about this? I need to do a deep clean before my in-laws arrive. Oh, so you probably have certain people who visit you, and you want to make sure your house is spotless. Spotless. That's a great adjective you can use for cleaning. So think of all the additional words and phrases you'll learn just by me explaining. So spotless. This means extremely clean. There is not a spot of dirt or dust anywhere. Extremely clean. So you want your house to be spotless before your in-laws arrive, or your parents arrive, or your sister arrives. So a deep clean is a thorough clean. So you could say, I need to clean thoroughly. I need to clean, and then the adverb thoroughly. I need to clean thoroughly before my in-laws arrive. Before saying that, I need to do a deep clean. So notice the verb is do, because clean is functioning as a noun, not a verb. Okay. I need to clean. In that sentence, clean is a verb. I need to do a deep clean. Clean is a noun. So it is more common to use the verb clean, but in this expression, which is very common, I need to do a deep clean. I need to do a deep clean. That's a lot more natural than saying I need to clean thoroughly, which sounds quite formal or textbook. And yes, exactly, Manuel. Spotless, immaculate, immaculate. I want my house to be immaculate before my in-laws arrive, for example. Okay, let's keep going, everyone. How about this? Just give the bathroom a quick clean. Ah, what do you notice here? Well, clean functions as a noun, a clean, a clean. Now, in this case, the verb we're using is give. So give something. In this case, the something is the bathroom. You might say your office, the kitchen, the garage, whatever room it is in your house. Just give the bathroom a clean. But what type of clean? A deep clean? A quick clean. So just a quick clean. Of course, you know what quick means. So just give the bathroom a quick clean. Hopefully, this is something that you do daily. You just give a specific room a quick clean. And then maybe once a week, once a month, you do a deep clean. You do a deep clean, or you go on a cleaning spree. Let's keep going. How about this? Can you please tidy up your office? So maybe you say this to your spouse, your roommate, your family member before your in-laws arrive. Now, when I say office, I'm thinking about a home office, because in the workplace in North America, it's not that common to clean your workplace. Usually there are cleaners who do that. So I'm talking about your office in your home. Like right now, I'm in my office in my home. Okay, can you please tidy up your office? Now, there's an important distinction between can you please tidy up your office and can you please clean up your office? Does anyone know what that distinction is? What that difference is? Well, I have the definition of tidy up right here on the screen. So when I say tidy up, I mean organize. So let's say you have a bunch of papers. Rather than having the papers all over the desk, you take all those papers and you put them in a neat stack. Imagine these are loose papers. You put them in a stack, and then you put that stack in a very specific place on your desk. So to organize, to put things in their place, that would be tidy up. Tidy up. Yeah, you can think of it as to make neat. Your spelling of neat is incorrect. To tidy up. We need to tidy up because it's messy. Exactly. So messy as an adjective is used to describe a lot of dirt or disorganization. So disorganization means that things are not in their proper place. Okay. So what about you? Is your desk usually tidy? Tidy. So that is the adjective. So you can answer this question. Is your desk usually tidy or messy? So you have to choose one. Put one word in the comments. Put tidy in the comments or put messy in the comments. And be honest, my husband's desk is always messy. and it drives me crazy because my desk is spotless, very tidy every day. So for me, it's absolutely tidy. What about you? And if you don't have a desk, you can change that to whatever else you have. Okay. Natalia keeps her desk neat and tidy. Excellent. Excellent. Mostly tidy. I of course it's messy. Of course. Tidy, tidy. Oh, we have a lot more tidy. Oh, no, wait. Here comes the messy people. Ooh, walking tour Canada. Where are you going in Canada? Let me know. Messy. Oh, a little bit of both. It drives me crazy when my desk is messy. Exactly. Exactly. Tidy and neat. Awesome. So a little bit of both. Super tidy. Ooh, I like that. Spoken like a true native. Super, super tidy. Tidy. Yeah, you can say I am a tidy person. I'm a tidy person. I'm an organized person. I'm a neat person. You can absolutely say that. Hey, Daki, messy. Okay, it's personal preference. For me, I can't concentrate if there's a lot of mess around. But for my husband, it makes no difference. It doesn't bother him. It bothers me, but it doesn't bother him. So it's really just personality as well. Okay, so now can you please clean up your office? Clean up. So remember, just imagine if I say tidy up your office, my husband is going to take his papers and he's going to put them in an organized pile. Okay. If I say clean up, he's going to get a rag and a spray bottle and he's going to wipe the surface. Okay. He's going to vacuum, he's going to dust, he's going to mop. So to remove dirt, dust, stains. That's the difference between tidy up and clean up. So tidy up this room, I might organize those pillows, which are always in a very tidy position. But if they were messy, then I would put them in a very specific position. That would be tidy. If I were to clean up, I would vacuum. Okay. So just different. It's a mess most of the time. I like this. I like how you use it's a mess. So this is something that people will absolutely say. A parent might walk into their kid's room, their bedroom, and say, this room is a mess. So yes, you can say this room is messy and use the adjective, this room is messy, but you can walk in and say, oh my God, this room is a mess. So you're using it as a noun, a mess. Okay, awesome. Good job. Thank you for sharing that. What's the difference between to clean and clean up? I'm glad you asked. I think that's our next slide. Well, I do have a slide on that. But before we do, a little public service announcement. Please put yes, yes, yes in the comments. It truly supports my channel. It makes sure that I can keep going live. I can keep creating free lessons for you. So put yes, 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 like this lesson, and please subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson, and share this with your friends. Maybe even a messy friend. Share this with your friends. Thank you, everyone, for showing your support. It truly does make a difference. I asked this for a reason. It truly is helpful to the channel. It's your best way of saying thank you for the free content. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate that. Let's keep going. And I have this free speaking guide for you where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. So you can just look in the description to download it, or you can just go to my website and you enter your name and email, and this will be emailed to you. Okay. And thank you, Ariel. This also helps contribute to the channel so I can keep making content for you. Thank you so much. And if you want to take this a step further, if you want to learn in a more structured way with full lessons, a study plan, practice exercises, and the ability to ask me questions and get personalized support directly from me, well, then you can join the Finally Fluent Academy. You can find the link in the description to learn more. Okay, let's keep going. Oh, let's look at this. My room was very messy yesterday, so I had to do a deep clean and now it looks super tidy. Congratulations. This is an excellent sentence and it sounds very natural. You sound like a native. And a lot of times people get so confused like, what does it mean to sound like a native? Why are all these teachers talking about sounding like a native? All it means is that you're using vocabulary, words, phrases the way that natives do, like using super as an intensifier. Natives do that all the time. So when you do it, saying, wow, it looks super tidy, instantly you sound more like a native because that's the way my friends speak. That's the way my coworkers speak. All right. And thank you so much for showing your support. I greatly appreciate it. Okay, now a student asked the difference between clean and clean up. Let's talk about that now because it's an important distinction. So, how about this? After the party, can you help me clean up? Okay, can you help me clean up after the party, after dinner, after the in laws leave? Can you help me clean up? So, this does mean, can you help me clean? If you said after the party, can you help me clean? I would know exactly what you mean. There's no confusion. I know what to do. Okay, so just remember that. But we use clean up when you want to clean a specific mess. So this is the mess created from the party. Or can you help me clean up after dinner? So, of course, is the specific mess created from dinner? Can you help me clean up after your parents leave? Is the specific mess created from your parents being here? Okay, so clean up, just think of it as to clean a specific area. Now, you can also just use it more in general. Can you help me clean tonight? Oh, tonight I'm cleaning. I'm cleaning the house. So this is just a regular clean. It's a routine clean. It's not necessarily an area, a mess caused by a specific thing, such as dinner, a party, your in-laws. It's just in general. So what you do likely every week or maybe a little bit every day. Can you help me clean tonight? So, in general, that's the difference. But just know if you said, can you help me clean up tonight? I would know exactly what you mean. And if you say, can you help me clean after the party? I would know exactly what you mean. So, these two, clean and clean up, are more interchangeable. Yes, they have a slight difference in meaning, but ultimately, if you change the order, I understand what you mean. But if you say, can you help me tidy up? I'm not going to get the vacuum. I'm going to just start organizing papers or pillows. Okay, so there is more of a difference between tidy up and clean up. Let's keep going. How about this? Can you wipe up that spill before it stains? Can you wipe up that spill before it stains? So, what's a spill? So, a spill is liquid. It could also be solid, but we usually use it with liquids that is on a surface when it should be in a cup. So if water comes out, that would be a spill. But know that it can also be used it can also be used as a verb. So, oh no, I spilled my water. So to spill is to cause the liquid to leave its proper place. A spill is when you look at the liquid on a counter or the floor and say, oh no, that liquid shouldn't be there. A spill. Okay, so it can be a verb or a noun, but in this sentence structure, it's a noun. So get comfortable with recognizing when you see a word, well, you have to know, how is that word being used? Is it a verb? Is it a noun, adjective, adverb? You need to know that. Can you wipe up that spill before it stains? So pay attention, because wipe is used wipe, wipe up, wipe down. And they're slightly different. Wipe, wipe up, wipe down. Right now, we're talking about wipe up. So wipe up is to remove a specific spill, but it can also be dirt. Okay. So let's say you were outside and you got mud on your shoes, and then you touch the floor with your shoe, you step on the floor and you leave mud on the floor. You would say, can you wipe up the mud? So it doesn't have to be liquid, okay? It can be a mess, which would be mud, for example. So liquid, a specific liquid spill or mess. Wipe up, wipe up. All right, let's keep going, everyone. See this, not wipe up. There are 3 forms: wipe, wipe up, wipe down. You don't want wipe up, because you don't wipe up in general. When you wipe up, there's a specific spill, mess, or liquid, and you are removing it. That's the only time we use wipe up. So in this case, wipe up does not work. Okay, let's keep going. Can you wipe down all the kitchen counters? So remember, I said we have wipe, wipe up, wipe down. So now I'm using wipe down. So wipe down is thoroughly clean, and it's the entire area. So I could wipe down my desk, and I thoroughly clean the entire surface of the desk. I could wipe down that door because it does get dusty and dirty, and it would be from top to bottom, the entire area. I can wipe down my computer screen, and it would be the entire area. Now, let's look at wipe. Why are you dusting the counters? You need to wipe them. So dusting and wiping, they're both cleaning actions. They're both cleaning verbs. But generally, you don't dust counters, like a kitchen counter, you wipe them, okay? So to wipe is when you have a rag, a cloth, a sponge, and it's wet, and maybe you use cleaner. Cleaner would be something like a disinfectant, Lysol, dish soap, vinegar. It can be a natural cleaner as well. I personally use vinegar and baking soda for 99% of my cleaning needs, or water. But you can, not required, you can just use a wet cloth, and then you go like this, right? That is wipe. So why are you dusting the counters? You need to wipe them. So to wipe is more focused on the action. So the action is my hand moving like this. Now, if it's on a flat surface, my hand will be moving like this, okay? Where I wipe down is to clean thoroughly the entire area, but wipe, it's just not specific. I don't know if it's a specific stain. I don't know if it's the entire area thoroughly. It's just more focused on the action of moving your hand. So you can wipe your desk. You can wipe down your desk. You can wipe up some tea or coffee on your desk. Okay. So you wipe up something specific. So I wouldn't say, can you wipe up your desk? I would say, can you wipe up the coffee stain on your desk? Or can you wipe up the oatmeal on your desk if you had oatmeal for breakfast and then some of the oatmeal spilled? Let's keep going. In the city, so remember, in the city, in the country, or in the countryside as one word, countryside. Many people take buses, trains, or the subway to get to work. So this sentence suggests there are many different transportation options. So you could say that as well. In the city, there are many different transportation options. So you could say that as one of the positives. Now, remember, if you wanted, you can continue on with a but, and then provide a negative. And you're doing this to just provide a more balanced answer. In the city, many people take trains, buses, or the subway to get to work, but traffic is terrible. So that could be a but and then something that sounds negative. Now, of course, the thing that sounds negative should be related to what you're talking about here. So we're talking about transportation. How about this? In rural areas, most people rely on a car because public transportation is limited. So here is limited. This means there are not many transportation options. But on the other hand, if you say something is limited, it still suggests it's there to some degree. Okay? Because otherwise, you would just say there are no public transportation options because is limited suggests there are some. Here's a strong one because public transportation is non-existent. You could say is non-existent. That's a very strong way of saying there are no public transportation options. Is non-existent. It doesn't exist. So that would be a stronger way. Yeah, but there is a lot of traffic. So traffic is uncountable. There's no S. You got that correct, but your verb has to match it. But there is a lot of traffic. The inconvenience of the countryside, very nice, is that you need to have a car. Yeah, instead of need to have, you can just say you need a car. You need a car. There's no need to include have. You need a car. How about this? Traffic in the city. Ooh, well, we were just talking about traffic. Traffic in the city. So here we're making a gerund statement. We're starting with the noun being traffic. So traffic in the city. This functions as the subject of the sentence and it would be conjugated as third person singular. But we have can, and can is the same for all subjects. So it wouldn't matter if you had a plural subject, it would still be can. And then can is a modal, so can plus base verb. Traffic in the city can be heavy. So notice this adjective to describe traffic, heavy. Oh, traffic was so heavy today. Oh, traffic is pretty light right now because what's the opposite of heavy? This box is heavy. This box is light. So the opposite of describing traffic as bad, heavy is bad, would be not bad, which would be light. So heavy and light. You can go quickly if the traffic is light. Traffic in the city can be heavy during the morning and evening commute. Probably all the time, not just the morning and evening commute, but you could be specific as well. Yeah. Traffic in the city is very stressful because it is heavy during the morning and evening commute. So notice how we just took one idea and we expanded on it. We showed off your language fluency for your IELTS exam or for a job interview or even in just any conversation because we just provided more information. Well done. Okay, let's keep going. Traffic in the city always wears me down. Oh, yeah. So if it wears you down, it means it causes you to go into a more of a negative state, tired, frustrated, lack of energy, just defeated, defeated. Very nicely said. Okay. In the country, remember you could also say in the countryside, in the country, the drive to work may be longer, but the roads are usually less crowded. Okay, exactly. And notice these sentences are written to be more general because they use words like may be longer. Because when you add that, it's adding some uncertainty in the sense that is not presenting it as fact, it's presenting it as an option. It may, but it may not. Now, there's certainly a time and place when you want to do that. But if you are talking about your own experience, you don't need to do that. You could just say, in the country, the drive to work is longer because you're talking about your drive to work. I live in the country and my drive to work is longer. But the roads are less crowded. So you could include usually. Usually means most of the time, but sometimes there is traffic. Is that true? I don't know. I've never been in a traffic jam in the country, but maybe you have. So you could include usually. Oh, here's a good one. In the countryside, there's less traffic, but the roads may be in bad conditions. Exactly. Exactly. Yes, because there's more infrastructure in the city. They're faster to repair roads and services because more people use them. Very nicely said. And I love that contrast. So there's a positive, less traffic, but however, and then a negative. Remember, you can switch that order. Let's keep going and talk about work and professional opportunities. And another student already referenced that there are less job opportunities in the country. Of course, that's true because the population size is tiny. So, of course, there are less opportunities. So, what do we have here? Cities usually offer more job opportunities in different industries. So, again, notice this use of usually, which is not required, but it does make your sentence sound less definitive. Cities usually offer more job opportunities in different industries. Okay. So it's not just the job opportunities, the fact that there are more jobs, but it's also different industries. So that's an easy way to expand on a simple idea. You could say there are more job opportunities, but even adding on in different opportunity in different industries basically doubles the number of words in your idea and makes it more complex. My city is an industrial city. Yeah. And then you could continue on. And what's the result of that? So there are many job opportunities in, and then you could list the type of jobs, or so what's the impact of that? Not that you have to do it in this comment, but that's a great way to, again, expand on an idea. Farming is the most popular profession in the countryside. Okay. In the countryside is one word. Yes, it's made up of the word country and side, but it's one word for spelling. There's no difference in spoken English, but this is spelled incorrectly. And you need the article the. But you could also just say the country. There's no difference. In the countryside, you rarely get better opportunities compared to big cities. Compared to. You don't want rather than, you want compared to. Okay, how about this one? People who live in the country, so in the country or countryside, people who live in the country sometimes work remotely or commute to a nearby town or city. So here, the word nearby, we're talking about proximity. So far and then close or near. So nearby. Now, nearby functions as an adjective here to a nearby town or city. You could also turn it into an adverb and say to a town or city nearby because it's an adverb of place. A town or city nearby. Or as an adjective, a nearby town or city. Both are fine. And then commute, of course, means how you move from one location to another. You can commute many different ways. A car, train, bus, bicycle, even. You can walk. And again, we're using this word to make it sound less definitive. Sometimes. People who live in the country. People who live in the country sometimes work remotely or commute to a nearby town or city. Okay, countryside. Remember, you need the. It's not city, country. It's the city, the country, the countryside. So great job getting it spelled as one word, countryside, one word, but you must use the article the. It's not optional. The countryside usually offers healthier work. So work is always singular. There's no S on it. Healthier work than in the city. And very nice comparison. I like that. So just two sentence structure issues, but very nice. The countryside people work hard to make our life easier. Wow. I love that. Great job. Nice sentence. Exactly. So not far away is nearby. So maybe you want to have coffee or lunch with a friend or family member and then they say, "Oh, should we drive?" And you say, "No, let's walk. It's nearby." It is nearby. It's nearby. The cafe is nearby. Let's walk. It's a beautiful day and it's nearby. Now, what is nearby to me may be different for you. It just really depends on context, but it just means not far away. How about this? Recently, working remotely has been very popular. Excellent job with recently and your present perfect has been. Very nicely done. Recently, working remotely has been very popular, but that could be more possible in the cities. Very nice. I have to commute to a nearby town. Excellent job using nearby as an adjective. I have to commute, so move from one location to another. I have to commute to a nearby town because all customers live there. Ooh, thanks for sharing that. Well written. We haven't talked about the cost of living in the countryside. Okay, in the countryside, this is an introduction. So you still need a subject. In the countryside, it is way cheaper than the city. Or you could say in the countryside, the cost of living is cheaper, is way cheaper than the city. Okay, but really nice idea that you've expressed. How about this one on the screen? In large cities, because there are different degrees of cities. A city could just be with 500,000 people, Or it could be with 5 million people, 10 million people, or more. So there are certainly different degrees of cities as well. And the same goes for the countryside. You can have a rural town with literally 100 people or 10,000 people. So there are certainly different degrees. In large cities, professionals often attend events to meet people in their industry. Yes. So you can make this contrast in large cities, in small cities, in large towns, because you wouldn't say in large countrysides, you would change the word to towns, or in large rural areas, for example, in large cities. Professionals often attend, again, our adverb of frequency, often, but it means not always. Often attend events to meet people in their industry. So, networking events. In the countryside, the living expenses, so expenses is plural, are way cheaper, just way, because way already intensifies it. And cheaper, you don't need more there, are way cheaper than cities. Well done. In large cities, you are highly likely, I like that. I like highly likely. You are highly likely, so it's increasing the level of likelihood. You are highly likely to land lucrative. So a lucrative job is one that pays a good salary. Lucrative jobs one way or another. Well done. That's a great sentence. Okay, in smaller towns. So we saw in large cities. Now remember I said you can't say in large countrysides. You would have to use the word towns. So a town is the name of the community. In smaller towns, the professional community is often smaller, but relationships can feel more personal. So here we're using that negative, but, however, and then something that sounds more positive. Relationships can feel more personal. Of course, that's a positive. How about we move on to culture and social life? Oh, what do you think of when you think of culture and social life in a city compared to in the countryside? One thing many people enjoy about city life. So many people enjoy about country life, about city life, about living in the city, because about is a preposition. So if you used a verb, it would be about living in the city, living in the country. One thing many people enjoy about city life is that there is always something happening. There's always something happening. So, happening here means taking place or going on. It's very common for native speakers to say, always something going on. So, you can find an event, a concert, a conference, a networking opportunity, a class to take. You can just find different parks or outdoor facilities to go to, shopping malls. All of those represent something happening. There's something to do, there's something to see, there's something to participate in. Urban areas provide a more vibrant culture and social life than rural areas. Very nicely said. I like that. Okay, I didn't read the rest of this, but from my perspective. So it's in my opinion, from my perspective. From my perspective. Okay, so make sure you change that. In the city, there is always something to do. You don't need the word what. So it's incorrect with what. In the city, there is always something to do. There's always something to do. There's always some event going on. There's always something to do. In the countryside, people are friendly and outgoing. That is often a complaint about large cities. People are rude. People are always in a hurry. People won't stop to help you if you need it. But in the countryside, it's a different situation. People are friendly and outgoing. Okay. How about this one? Cities usually have a wide variety of restaurants. So, a wide variety means many different. So, instead of saying there are many different restaurants, you say there's a wide variety. You can say that with when you go to a store even, there was a wide variety of dresses, different styles of dresses or shirts or whatever, shoes at the new store, for example. Cities usually have a wide variety of restaurants, events, and cultural activities. So, this reinforces the point that there's always something going on, there's always something happening. It's common to see some events in towns that have to do with the town culture. Very nice. That's one thing I really like because it's a way to enjoy with other people. Very nice. How about this? Cities usually have a wide, oh, sorry, we already did that one. I'm like, this sounds familiar. Okay. In the countryside, so we're talking about the city. So in the countryside. Now remember here, it said cities, cities. When you have the plural noun, you don't need an article. Okay. So if it were just city, you would have to say my city, the city, this city. But when you have the plural noun, you don't need an article. So here in the countryside, remember, this isn't a noun. This is an introductory phrase. Okay. So the noun would be towns, towns. But here in the countryside, social life often revolves around neighbors and local community events. And one student was just talking about how there are a lot of local community events. Oh, I love this. In terms of, and then something. In terms of finding a job, the the city is the best in terms of raising children, in terms of retiring, in terms of health and wellness, whatever it might be. The countryside is the best. Perfect sentence. And then you could go on and expand on this and then just provide reasons why. Because, in my opinion, in my experience, and then you can expand on that. Some people say the city never sleeps. Oh, have you heard this? Yeah, they definitely describe large cities as a city that never sleeps. So a friend might ask you, like, oh, well, what time does this restaurant or store close? And then in New York, you can say, in New York, the city never sleeps. So it represents that there's always something to do, there's something to eat, there's something to buy, no matter what time it is. But in smaller cities, that's certainly not the case. And in towns, that's certainly not the case. So if you live in a large city, or maybe even it's not large, but it's a vibrant city, for example, Las Vegas is not a large city in terms of population, but Vegas is the entertainment capital of the US. So you could say Vegas never sleeps. There's always something to do, to see, to eat, to buy, no matter what time it is. So some people say the city never sleeps, while the country offers a slower and quieter lifestyle. So again, we're making this contrast here. We say something positive about the city, but then we say other people may prefer something different. So that's a great way to do that. And exactly, New York. Yeah, Mumbai for sure. Yeah. No, it's not necessary to use the word city. For example, you don't need to say Mumbai city, okay? It's because New York is a state. It's a little confusing. New York is a state, and then there's also New York as a city. So the name is for two different things. So people generally say New York City to let you know it's not the state of New York, it's the city, New York City, NYC. But that's specific to New York. You would just say the name of the city: Mumbai, Toronto, Paris. You don't say Paris City, you just say Paris. Okay, good question. Delhi never sleeps. Very nice. Sao Paulo never sleeps. Very nice. My city is pretty small. It's only about a population of 1 million. It definitely sleeps. My city is pretty sleepy after 10 p.m. Bangkok definitely never sleeps. Exactly. Exactly. Hong Kong never sleeps. Exactly. Yeah, Ottawa. Ottawa sleeps. Ottawa. So actually, as a negative, you can describe a city as to be sleepy. So a lot of people say Ottawa is sleepy. Ottawa is sleepy. Okay. This means that the city of Ottawa, where I live, it's kind of boring. And it's a complaint that many people have, especially students who come to one of the universities, because at 10 p.m., the city basically shuts down. So Ottawa is sleepy. That's a negative. Now, saying the city never sleeps, well, you can say that as a negative if you are raising a family in the middle of the city and it's really noisy and you want it to be quiet. So you can say it as a negative as well. London never sleeps. Chicago never sleeps. Very nice. Love it. How about the pace, challenges, and cost? So we've talked a little bit about the pace already. How about this? City life can feel very busy. So instead of very busy, my smart students have already introduced a lot of adjectives like hectic. There's a lot of hustle and bustle. That would be a good one as well. City life can feel very busy, especially if you have a long commute and a demanding job. Here's a good one. Cities are often polluted. Yeah, for sure. Good one. Yeah, you would say raising a family. Raising a family in cities is very expensive, for sure. How about this? Country life. So you can say country life, city life, living in the country, living in the city. So country life usually moves at a slower pace. So to move at a slower pace. So of course, city, you could say city life usually moves at a faster pace. You could also say country life is slow paced and city life is fast paced. So you could use those as well. Country life usually moves at a slower pace, which many people find relaxing. So you could say something positive here, or you can take this exact thing and make it sound negative. Country life usually moves at a slower pace, which many people find boring, which many people find frustrating. So you can turn this exact sentence into a positive or a negative by changing this one adjective. People find boring, frustrating, relaxing, peaceful, calming, whatever that is. So you might say, I'm getting my hair done next weekend. So this is commonly what native speakers say. And you can absolutely say, I'm getting a haircut, or I'm getting my hair dyed, I'm getting a trim. You might be more specific about what you're doing to your hair. But you can also just say, I'm getting my hair done. Done. Okay. I'm getting my hair done next weekend. In addition to hair, is very common with nails. I don't get my nails done. I never have in my life, but I know many women like to. So I'm getting my nails done tomorrow, today, next weekend, whenever the time reference is. I'm getting my hair done. I'm getting my nails done. I don't think I can't think of, oh, you could say I'm getting my eyebrows done. That's something that women do a lot. As for men, I don't know what men do. Men are pretty easy for maintenance. I don't think they get a lot of things done. I'm getting my nails done next year. Okay, plan ahead. I have to get my blood tested. I have to get my blood work done. Absolutely. You can say, I have to get my blood work done. So you use this when someone else is doing the action for you. I'm not doing my nails. The technician is. I'm not cutting my hair. The stylist is. I'm not taking my blood. The doctor or the nurse is. I'm getting my teeth done. You could say this. Someone would ask, like, what do you mean? Because there are so many different things you could do with your teeth. Like, are you getting them cleaned, whitened? Are you getting a filling? So there's a little more vague in that regard. I'm getting my makeup done. Absolutely. You can do that for sure. I'm getting my beard done tomorrow. There, finally, something for a guy. I'm getting my mustache done. There we go. Okay. So I'm getting my hair done next weekend. How about this? So in the context of getting my hair done, because remember I said you can be specific and say the activity with your hair, just like I said with the teeth is not specific, is also not specific with the hair. So you might be specific and ask for someone's opinion. Do you think I should go darker or stick with the same color? So that could be a question you ask a friend, your significant other, or you ask the stylist, because often you want the opinion of the expert. So you ask the person doing your hair. Okay? The person doing your hair, generally we call them a stylist. So you could ask the stylist, "Oh, do you think I should go darker or stick with the same color?" So instead of stick with, you could say, or keep the same color. Because if you stick with the same color, it means you're keeping the same color. Maybe I could go half and half. This side darker, this side the same color. Oh, that would be funny. Yeah. So exactly. So certain activities, you wouldn't say done. You would use a different verb. For example, I'm getting my car repaired next weekend. I'm getting my car washed next weekend. I'm getting my car detailed next weekend. Yeah, you could say, do you think I have to go darker? But just know if you use have to, it sounds like there's some sort of obligation, like there's a requirement for you. Now, maybe that is possible. Maybe your hair doesn't work well with lighter colors. So it's not easy to apply that color. So there is a requirement to go darker because you tried going lighter and it just didn't work. So it's possible that you would say, do you think I have to? But like I said, it sounds like there's a requirement. It's not just a preference. So hairdresser is almost like an outdated term now. The industry, the people, they refer to themselves as stylists. So that's just the terminology that they now use. A while ago, like maybe 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, you called them hairdressers. That was the terminology. But now it's stylist, 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 stylist. That's what they all say in North America. I can't speak to other areas, but in North America, they prefer to be called stylist. Yeah, I'm getting my coat dry cleaned. So you're not doing the action, it's being done by someone else. What's the difference between I'm getting and I getting? I getting is grammatically incorrect. So the sentence structure for the present perfect, or excuse me, the present continuous is subject, your verb to be conjugated I am, and then your verb in ing. So I getting is grammatically incorrect. We have got our coat dry cleaned. You could say that. We've got our coat dry cleaned. Yeah, exactly. In North America. How about this? Ooh, I like this. How do you feel about bangs? So this is something that the stylist could ask me, or I could ask the stylist, or I could ask my friend, I could ask my significant other, I could ask a family member, I could ask you. How do you feel about bangs? Now, how do you feel about? It means I want to know your opinion. So you might say, bangs, I don't know. That it seems like it would be a lot of work to maintain bangs. Or bangs, I don't know. That's a little 90s. So you might refer to it as being an outdated style. Or you would say, "Oh, I love bangs. You should definitely get bangs." And if you don't know what bangs are, they're it would be if I had shorter pieces of hair that either go across my entire forehead or they could be at the side as well. They could even be up to here. They don't have to be short. They could be about that length as well. So that's bangs. How do you feel about bangs? Now, if my stylist said this to me, it would be more of them suggesting that I get bangs. Maybe the stylist thinks that my face would really suit bangs and they want to know my opinion about it. And I would say, "Oh, I like bangs, but then I have to get them trimmed every couple of weeks. And that seems like a lot of work." Which is how I feel about bangs. What about you? How do you feel about bangs? And of course, it doesn't have to be bangs, it can be anything. How do you feel about a darker color or a lighter color? I don't know the term fringe. Maybe that's used somewhere else, but in North America, what I was referring to, we call them bangs, as far as I know. I love bangs. I go crazy for bangs. Yeah, exactly. But is it still in style? I don't know. Bangs, isn't that kind of 90s? But is it still in style? In style, in style. Yeah, exactly. So if you're thinking about where to eat this weekend or tonight, how do you feel about Indian food? Oh, I love Indian food, but I had it yesterday, so let's do something else. How do you like my new do? Well, this is difficult since my hair is up today and I don't have a new do anyway. It's the same old do. So, do, what is this in the context of our discussion? In context, remember, you always have to look at vocabulary in context. If this was the very first slide and I didn't tell you what the category is, a native speaker may not know what this means because vocabulary is always understood in context. Okay. So, do is, yes, hairstyle, hairdo. So it's very common to use hairdo, hairdo. Now, natives love shortening words, so we just drop the hair and we use do. So, in the context of talking about your hair, if you say, "How do you like my new do?" then someone knows you're talking about your hairdo, your hairstyle. I like your usual do. Well, thank you so much because I generally don't change my hair. Yeah, your new hairstyle or hairdo. Hairdo. But same thing, hairstyle, hairdo. Oh, yeah. When you have curly hair, it's tough to have bangs. Absolutely. So that's a great. How do you feel about bangs? Yeah. So, how do you like my hair? Exactly. How do you like my new do? How do you like my hair? Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Let's move on to gardening and yard care because this is a topical subject in North America. Topical means people are talking about it. Why? Because it's spring in North America. And of course, it depends geographically where you live, but many places in North America, spring is when you do a lot of gardening and yard care because over the winter, you don't have to do this because it's too cold and a lot of the plants and vegetation are dormant. But in spring, everything is blooming. So you might say, I desperately need to water the plants. So this is what I was thinking 2 days ago, but it was my plants outside. So then I checked my weather app, and the next day it was going to rain. So I didn't water the plants because, of course, Mother Nature is going to water them when it rains. And thankfully, it did rain because my plants desperately needed water. So I desperately need. Of course, it's saying I really, 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 really need. So if you want someone to understand, it's a very strong need. Say desperately, but don't use it lightly because there's a strong feeling in it. So if you're a supervisor and you tell someone, I desperately need that report, they're going to work really hard to get that report. Okay, so only use this if it's true that you desperately need the report. But in this case, I desperately need to water the plants. They were starting to go like this. They were starting to wilt, to wilt. Exactly. I desperately need to drink water. Well, I'm going to do that right now. I need to get the weeds removed from the garden. Okay. So remember, Natalia, and perhaps this is what you want to mean, that if you say get the weeds removed, someone else is doing it. So a yard worker. Now, without get, I need to remove the weeds from the garden. Then you are doing it. You can also use weed as a verb. And I'm pretty sure I have an example, but I don't use it as a verb. But I need to weed the garden. To weed means to remove the weeds. So that's the verb form. I need to weed the garden. Yeah, I desperately need to water the wilting plants. Absolutely. I desperately need to rest. Oh my goodness, I think you're late. You can't plant tulip bulbs now. I desperately need to plant my tulip bulbs this season. Don't you plant them in the fall for the spring? The tulips are already up in my area. We have a big tulip festival, which will be starting, I think, next weekend. Is really beautiful. It's on the famous Rideau Canal, if you've heard of it. I desperately need to get a new car. You could say the new car, but it's specific. A new car is just any new car. Oh, we already saw that one. Yeah, so here's the verb form. I desperately need to weed, that's the verb, to weed the garden. Absolutely. Okay, let's keep going. Ah, you need to pull the weeds before they get out of control. So pull the weeds because that is the action that you do. You pull them out of the ground. So you can use pull the weeds. Pull is the verb, but honestly, it would be more common to say you need to weed the garden. So you could just say that. But here, pull the weeds before they, because they represents the noun. So the noun is weeds. You need to pull the weeds before they get out of control. Because if you don't weed the garden, yeah, today there's only 3 weeds. Tomorrow, there might be 4 weeds. A week from now, there are 20 weeds. That's out of control. Oh, yes, that's where the tulips come from. So the Netherlands, I don't remember the story, but my city, Ottawa, helped the Netherlands in some way, like some royalty in the Netherlands. This was a long, long time ago. And then the Netherlands thanked my city, Ottawa, by shipping us a massive amount of tulip bulbs. And then those tulip bulbs are on display in this area. It is so beautiful. It's just all you can see is tulips. It only lasts for about 2 weeks, but it's absolutely beautiful. But they're from the Netherlands. I'm from Winnipeg, but that's the difference between being from and living in. So I said my city because I live in Ottawa. Also, I've lived in Ottawa for 13 years, so it certainly feels like my city. But Winnipeg is where I was born. So I guess they're both my cities. Okay. Can you trim the bushes this weekend? So you're asking your husband or you're asking the person who does lawn care for you. Can you trim the bushes this weekend? So just like you trim your hair, I wish I had my hair down today. So if my hair was here and you trim it, you just remove a small amount. So you can imagine you have this big bush and you just want to make it slightly smaller. Okay, so that's trim, just slightly smaller. I need to trim the hedge this weekend. Exactly. Yes, everyone loves tulips. Everyone is conjugated as third person singular, so you need loves, loves. I think everyone loves tulips for sure. Okay, this plant isn't doing well. It needs more sunlight. So this could be a plant inside or it could be a plant outside. So it needs more sunlight, then you're going to move the location of the plant. Now, notice this plant isn't doing well. It isn't doing well. So maybe it's wilted, or maybe the leaves are discolored. They're yellow, they're brown, they have spots on them. There's something about the plant. So isn't doing well, it means this plant is not healthy. This plant is not thriving, okay? This plant isn't doing well. This plant isn't doing well. It needs more sunlight. It needs less sunlight. It needs more water. It needs less water. It needs fertilizer, or it needs to be fertilized. Oh, here's the story. A royal baby was born, but was born in Ottawa, as it was in the Netherlands. The king sent a lot of tulips to thank the Canadians. Ah, okay. So a royal baby from the Netherlands was born in Ottawa. And I guess Ottawa made sure that the baby was healthy or took care of the baby or helped with the birth, of course. And then to thank Ottawa, the king sent a lot of tulips. Thank you for sharing that. I knew it was something to do with royalty, but I wasn't sure what it was. So thank you. We can transplant this plant into another place where it has more sunlight or where it gets more sunlight, or where there is more sunlight. So you can use there is more sunlight to represent the existence. Right now you can see the sun coming into my window, which isn't doing very well for my lighting here. So transplant this plant. If you transplant a plant, it means you dig the plant out of the ground and you move it, and then you dig it into a new location. So you move the plant. Yeah. We can transplant this plant into another place where it gets or has more sunlight, or where there is more sunlight. Oh, yeah, my flower or my ring is a flower. I love flowers. I think most of you know that. How about this? We should plant something low maintenance along the fence. Okay, so certain plants are high maintenance. Certain people are high maintenance. Do you get that joke? If you describe someone or something as high maintenance, it's a negative. It means that that thing or that person requires a lot. So has a lot of requirements just to be maintained. Okay. Now, if a plant or a person is low maintenance, it means that they don't have a lot of requirements. So it's easier to maintain that plant or your relationship with that person if there are not a lot of requirements. So I think, for example, roses, I've heard that roses are very high maintenance. They need a certain amount of soil, of light, of water, of fertilizer. So that would be my understanding. Roses are very high maintenance. Other plants, you just put it in the soil and forget about it, and it will grow no matter where it is. So that would be low maintenance. So along the fence, so if you have a fence going like this, well, then you would put the plants here. And those plants will just, you can plant them and basically forget about them and they will grow. Yeah. Plants that need little care. Exactly. Low maintenance. I'm a low maintenance person. Well, that's generally a positive. High maintenance plants give us headaches all the time. It's not worth the time and effort in a simple home garden. Exactly. I definitely will only plant low maintenance things. How about this? I don't mind mowing the grass tonight. Okay. So what's the verb here? The verb is mow, mow, mow. And it's in the ing form because it follows the expression I don't mind. So I don't mind plus gerund. Okay. I don't mind driving you to the airport. I don't mind making dinner. I don't mind picking up the groceries. So we use this to, great job, everyone, mow, mow. And exactly that's the conjugated verb. Yeah. And to mow means to cut. So you can say, I don't mind cutting the grass. I don't mind mowing the grass. Excuse me. Either one is fine. I don't mind watering the plants. So we use this to accept a job or task, but one that maybe there's some effort or some work involved. So the person might feel like, are you sure? You know, asking someone to drive you to the airport, that's a pretty big task. So if you want to show the person that you're not inconvenienced in any way, you're happy to do the task, even though effort or work is required, then you can use the expression, I don't mind. I don't mind mowing the grass tonight. How about Oscar? Oscar is a project manager. So what do you think his daily routine would include? Can you think of one thing that Oscar, as a project manager, may do as part of his daily routine? Well, let's see. Share one in the comments. And remember, he, present simple, you need to add that S or ES. So, as a rule, have you heard this expression to start the present simple? You probably already know always, on, Sundays, every day, every week, on weekends. Those are some pretty basic time expressions. So I'm also going to share some more advanced time expressions with you. And here's one, as a rule. So if something is a rule, it means you follow it. You follow it as a routine. So if I say as a rule, it sounds like it's a routine. As a rule, I review my calendar first thing in the morning. Now, calendar is the same as schedule, because in your calendar, it tells you what appointments you have, what tasks are due at specific times. So I review my calendar. You could also say I review my schedule first thing in the morning. Now, first thing in the morning, there isn't a specific time here. It's not at 8 a.m., at 9 a.m., but it just means early in the morning. And early in Oscar's morning, because of course, Oscar and you could wake up at different times of the day. So first thing in the morning just depends on when you wake up. So as a rule, agenda is not used for your day-to-day. Agenda is used for a conference, a class or a meeting to tell you what you will do within a specific planned activity. But for your day, your daily schedule, we don't use agenda. We use calendar or schedule. Okay, so as a rule, you could even do something simple. As a rule, I don't drink coffee until after I go to the gym. Maybe something like that. As a rule, I review my books. Exactly. Very nice. Oscar has to organize the meetings every day and check the financial balance. Very nice. Thinking of some business expressions. Very nice. I love it. Okay. I lead a status update with my team at 9 each and every Monday. So here's another one that you may not be familiar with. Each and every. So notice how I'm pronouncing that and, each and every, because and is going to become more unstressed. Each and every Monday. It simply means every Monday, but it sounds more emphasized. It sounds more dramatic. Oscar really wants you to know that this activity happens every Monday without fail. So it just emphasizes it. So if you really want to emphasize something, you can say each and every instead of just each or instead of just every. Now, I lead a status update. This is important because you know Oscar is the leader. He's the one who is organizing it. He's the one who's presenting. Like right now, I'm leading this class. You're not leading it because I'm the one presenting, right? So it's important if you know, if Oscar just says, I attend a status update, well, then that's different. Or I participate in a status update, that has a different meaning as well. How about this? As a rule, Oscar makes the project plan on Sundays. Absolutely. Very nicely done. As a rule, I read a book last thing I do in the day. Very nice. Okay. I lead a team of people. Maybe just a typo there. A team. I lead a team of people. As a rule, I check my car air pressure. Well, that's smart. Very nice. As a rule, I review my schedule on week, first thing every Monday. I think you mean I review my schedule for the week. Or you could say I review my weekly schedule. First thing every Monday. I love first thing every Monday. That sounds awesome. As a rule, I review my weekly schedule first thing every Monday. Very nice. Yes, exactly. Every single Monday. And again, you're emphasizing it. Very good. How about this? I follow up with potential leads in the afternoon. Okay, I follow up with. So here we have a phrasal verb. The phrasal verb is to follow up. We have our verb follow and the preposition up. But notice there's a third word. So a second preposition, a third word, which is with. Follow up with. You use the additional preposition when you specify the noun. The noun here, leads, potential leads in the afternoon. A lead is someone that you have talked to and seems interested in your product, your service, working with you, working for you. That would be a lead. It's not yet a customer, but has the potential to be a customer. Okay, that's a lead. And in the afternoon, I follow up with potential leads in the afternoon. And if you follow up, it means you had a conversation with this person maybe yesterday or last week, and you're having another conversation. You're continuing your previous conversation. Okay, so that's what it means to follow up. It's a very common phrasal verb, so I recommend you practice it in the comments. Let's keep going. I set aside 1 hour each day to follow up with potential leads. So here, we're using the same phrasal verb, follow up with. I wanted you to see it in another sentence structure because it's very common. Follow up with potential leads. Now, I set aside, that's a phrasal verb as well. You set aside time. And when you set aside time, it means that you reserve that time. You allocate that time for a specific purpose. So if someone says to you, oh, do you want to have a coffee today at 3 p.m.? You look in your calendar, but you already reserved that time. So you say, no, I can't. I'm busy, because you've already set aside that 1 hour, let's say at 3 p.m. And yes, a lead is a potential client or customer, is someone who is interested but has not signed a contract, has not paid you, but they're interested. So they have the potential. Set aside means reserve. I set aside 1 hour each day to learn a new skill. Well, isn't that an amazing thing to do? I'm so glad to hear that. Let's keep going. I go to the gym at lunch as often as possible. Okay, so here, as often as possible. So we have as, adverb, as. Okay, as, adverb, as often as possible. So this isn't specific. And you can use this to suggest that, well, I don't go Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I go Monday, if possible, Tuesday, if possible, Wednesday, if possible. But it could change. So this week, it was only possible for me to go to the gym twice. Maybe next week, 4 times. The following week, once, and then twice, and then twice, and then 3 times. So it changes as often as possible. You could also say as often as I can. That's possible as well. I go to the gym as often as I can. I clean my house as often as I can. I prep my meals as often as I can, whatever it is. I review and correct comments as much as I can. So you don't have to use often. You could change it to as much as I can, as frequently as I can, as frequently as possible. There are other word choices. It doesn't mean as soon as possible. I would say to you, I'll respond to your email as soon as possible. It means in the immediate future. That's not what is being said here. So yes, it uses as word as, but it's not the same meaning. Let's go back. I set aside 15 minutes each working day to follow up on ongoing operations at work. Employer is a person. So you wouldn't say in my employer. You would just say at work, at work. Okay, so a few corrections, but overall, good job. Yeah, here's a great example. I learn English as much as I can. As much as I can. Very nicely done. I check your email as often as possible. Well done. So maybe the student doesn't check my email every day, but the student checks my email 3 times per week, but then other weeks 5 times, 1 time. Very nicely done. Yes, exactly. The frequency differs. It depends. It depends on Oscar's schedule. How about this? Before I leave, I send my team the priorities for the next day. Before I leave, I send my team the priorities for the next day. So it sounds like this is an email. So you can send an email, you can send a text message, you can send a Teams message, you can send a Jira message, Slack message, whatever form of communication you use at your workplace, okay? And then in that message, there's the list of priorities. Before I leave, I send my team the priorities for the next day. Now, notice it's for the next day. It's not for tomorrow, because tomorrow for me is March 4th. Maybe you're in the future and it's already March 4th for you right now. And of course, if you're watching the replay, it could be July 7th. But tomorrow is a specific day, but the next day changes. So the next day is just tomorrow, but based on whatever day it currently is, whether that's March 4th, July 7th, August 23rd, the next day is tomorrow of that specific day. So that's why it's just saying the next day and not tomorrow. Ooh, I like this. I don't exercise as often as I used to. As often as I used to. So this means as often as I did in the past. So it means I exercised more in the past compared to now. Very nice sentence structure. I love that. Although you should exercise more. Let's keep going. And how about Omar? Omar is retired. What does that mean? What does it mean if Omar is retired? And the sentence structure, notice it's in the ED form. This is not the past simple of the verb. This is the adjective form. Because it means that Omar is retired. That would be the sentence structure. Omar is retired. Omar is retired. It means that Omar has permanently left the working world. Permanently. He has no plans to work in the future. Okay? That's what it means. Omar is retired. Exactly. He doesn't work, but he doesn't work because he made the conscious decision. Someone else, Leah, doesn't work in the working world because she's a stay-at-home mom. A student doesn't work because they're a student. So yes, this is correct, but just the reason why is different. Okay. You don't get retired, you just retire. So I want to retire. So retire is a verb. So you can say, I retired when I was 73. Okay. That's when I stopped working permanently for the rest of my life. I retired when I was 73. I am retired. So the verb to be describes the current state. And then retired is an adjective. But in this case, I want to retire. That's just the verb, to retire. And yes, Omar is his name. Exactly. Omar has stopped working permanently. Exactly. Nice. I'm retired and I have time to watch your lessons. Woohoo. Thank you, Dan. All right. So I never set an alarm, but I usually wake up around 5. So Omar, remember, he's retired and he says, I never set an alarm. I never set an alarm. So when you set an alarm, it means the night before you turn on your alarm and then at 5:30, 6:30, 6:15, it goes beep, beep, beep and wakes you up. Omar does not do that because he's retired. But I usually wake up around 5. So this means Omar wakes up naturally. His body just naturally wakes up. Maybe he hears the birds, maybe the sun wakes him up, whatever the reason. but I usually. So this means not always, but most of the time, usually. But I usually wake up around 5. So around 5, that could be 4:47, 5:23, around 5. How about this? I hardly plan my day. So notice we had a negative. I never set an alarm. So what about you? What's something you never do? Now here, what's something you hardly do? Share that in the comments as well. I hardly plan my day. So if I plan my day the night before, I say exactly what I'm going to do, very specifically, from the time I wake up, basically until the time I go to bed. Omar does not do that. I hardly plan my day. So using hardly means a little bit, but not much. So maybe there are some activities that are scheduled or planned, but not many. I hardly plan my day. I just play things by ear. So this is an idiom, to play something. In this case, things represents the activities he does during the day. I just play things by ear. So you might say, let's play the weekend by ear. Let's play the day by ear. Let's play our vacation by ear. You're not going to plan it. You're just going to decide in the moment. You're going to decide spontaneously what you want to do, where you want to go, what you want to eat. I hardly wake up without the alarm. That describes me as well. Very nice. I wake up early in the morning. You need the morning. Otherwise, you could just say, I wake up early without any alarm. But if you want in, you need in the morning. That's excellent. I always need an alarm. If my alarm did not go off, I would not be here with you right now. I love this. My alarm is my cat. Very nice. Maybe for you, it's my dog or my neighbor's dog barking, my kids, whatever it might be. I never skip my breakfast. Very nicely said. I hardly make a shopping list. Very nicely said. I hardly think before speaking. Uh-oh. That could get you in trouble. I seldom have a to-do list. So remember, we're talking about Omar. I always have a to-do list. A list of things that I must complete today or by a specific time. Okay, Omar, I seldom. So seldom, rarely, they're the same. It means a small amount of time, but not the majority of the time. So maybe 2 activities per day or twice per week. He has a list of things he needs to do. So a to-do list is just a list of things you need to do. Pronounce that as to do. To-do list. Now notice it's a noun, a list. So you need a list, a to-do list, a to-do list. So what about you? Do you always, sometimes, usually, rarely, never, seldom have a to-do list? How about this? I spend most afternoons on the golf course. This is, in North America, the stereotype of a retired person, especially a man, is they're just on the golf course, because that's what retired people do in North America. They play golf. That's a stereotype, okay? Which means, of course, that isn't true with all retired people, but that's just the image I have in my mind of a retired man in North America, okay? I spend most afternoons on the golf course. Now, On the golf course, you could just replace this with I spend most afternoons playing golf. And I included this example because notice I spend time. Time represents most afternoons. And then you have your verb in ing because you spend time doing something. So I spend 2 hours each and every day reviewing my English lessons. Okay. So you spend time doing something. Oh no, I hardly follow my to-do list. Oh no. I seldom wash my face every day. Okay. I hardly do homework without my laptop. Excellent example. I like that. Very nicely done. I spend most afternoons taking a nap. Very nice. I spend most of my weekends practicing guitar. I love it. Well done. Let's keep going. These days, I travel once in a blue moon. So what does this mean? These days. These days means the current time. Because maybe, I can't remember this man's name, Omar. Maybe, right? Yeah. Omar. Maybe Omar is comparing it to last year. Maybe last year his life was different. He was working and his schedule was very different. Okay, so these days, it means currently, but it's an indicator for the present simple because you're still talking about a routine. These days, I travel once in a blue moon. Yes. Yeah. So right now, Omar rarely travels. So it sounds like maybe in the past, his situation was different. But now that he's retired or now that he's older, maybe he's unable or just not interested. He'd rather stay home and practice his golf swing. He's not interested in traveling. These days, I rarely travel. So just make sure it's subject, add verb of frequency, verb. So I rarely travel. Yeah. What was his name again? Omar. Exactly. So the idiom is once in a blue moon. Once in a blue moon. That means rarely. Yeah. Exactly. It suggests you travel only occasionally these days. Very nicely done, everyone. All right, let's move on to Kate. We're at opposite ends of the spectrum. We had Omar, who was retired. Now we have Kate, who's a student. Omar has finished his working career. Kate has not even begun her working career. Kate, our student. I check the course portal for announcements every morning. Okay, so you check something. So you open the course portal and you see what's new. So I check the course portal for announcements. So instead of for announcements, you could have some other reason why. I check the course portal to know my schedule every morning because maybe the schedule is just posted every morning and it changes. Who knows? I check the course portal to know the login details. Maybe the login details change every day. So there could be different reasons why. So for something, to do something. If you used a verb, you would use the verb to do or the infinitive, to do something. How about this? I dedicate 2 hours to reviewing my notes on Saturdays. Ooh, good for you, Kate. Reviewing your notes on Saturdays on the weekend. That's definitely commitment and dedication. So here, I love this sentence structure. I dedicate time. So 2 hours, 20 minutes Every Saturday, it could be a whole day. My weekend. So it can be a short period of time. It can be a long period of time. You can use minutes, hours, days, or a time reference. I dedicate 2 hours to reviewing, okay, to doing something. So notice we have the verb in ing because to is a preposition. It's not an infinitive marker. I dedicate 2 hours to reviewing my notes on Saturdays. It means every Saturday I review my notes for 2 hours. But when you say I dedicate, it sounds like this is a rule. It's non-negotiable. So she set aside that time. You could also use set aside, that phrasal verb we used before. Oh no, I complete my homework once in a blue moon. Oh no. Every Saturday, I set aside 2 hours to review my notes. Exactly. And yes, that is correct. Well done. Every Saturday, I set aside 2 hours and then the infinitive to review my notes. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. And you even have correct punctuation and formatting because Saturday is a day of the week and days of the week are capitalized. And you capitalize Saturday, you have a period at the end. Perfect. Yes, dedicate equals devote. So you could use devote as well. I devote 2 hours to reviewing my notes on Saturdays. Well done. Yeah, you could use carve out. Carve out would be set aside, just a little more figurative. Very nice. Well done. I dedicate 1 hour to walking in the park. How nice is that? Spend time in nature, relax, a form of meditation, mindfulness. Well done. Ooh, I dedicate time to watch your live and to review my grammar and improve my English. I'm so glad. Thank you. This semester, all my courses are online, so I don't need a bus pass. Okay. All my courses are online. This is using the present simple, but there's not a routine action. It's more stating a fact. My courses are online. I live in Canada. Okay, so you're stating a fact. This semester, all my courses, plural, they are your verb to be plural online. I don't need a bus pass. So this isn't a routine. A routine would be every day I take the bus to school. But that's not a routine. It's just a statement of fact. I don't need a bus pass. I don't drink coffee. I don't drink tea. I don't have sugar for breakfast, whatever it is. So it's more a statement of fact. So I don't need a bus pass. A bus pass is a piece of paper that allows you to take the bus frequently, and it's usually for a set price and it's cheaper than just paying as you go. I rarely go to the university library as everything I need is online. So here we're combining a statement of fact. Everything I need is online. That's a statement of fact, and it uses the present simple. But the first part of the sentence is a routine. I rarely go to the university library. So in terms of her daily routine or her weekly, monthly routine, go to the library is a very small part and it's not something that happens often. I rarely go to the university library as everything I need is online. So this is a great sentence structure. And instead of rarely, you could absolutely say, I always go to the university library as everything I need is there, as it's cheaper, as that's where my study group meets, as I love leaving the house, as My dorm is really small and noisy. So you could change this entirely, but keep the sentence structure. How about this? I usually attend the guest speaker events, especially the ones with free food. Spoken like a true student, always trying to get something for free or for a discount. And that describes me when I was a student as well. So I usually attend the guest speaker events. So a guest speaker event, maybe your university is hosting a presentation on some topic, and a speaker is coming from a different school or a company, a workplace to present. Okay. Now, there are some of these events that have free food. So there's just some food out on a table. Those are the ones that Kate goes to.
Amazing job with this masterclass. Do you want me to keep helping you learn natural vocabulary? If you do, put yes, 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 put yes, yes, yes in the comments below. And of course, make sure you like this lesson, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. And here's another lesson I know you'll love. Watch it now.